Hey there, happy artists, and welcome back to Kyle Heath Art. I am so excited about this video because today we're talking about marketing. And some of you are like, are you crazy? Why would you be excited to talk about marketing? Marketing is the scariest thing in the entire world. And that's why I really want to make this video. I'm hoping that by the end of this Art Marketing Masterclass, you will have a totally different view of what marketing is. I hope that you'll feel empowered to put yourself out there as much as you feel comfortable and know that you're not annoying people, you're not getting on people's nerves, you're not going to have to create a persona or be someone any different than you already are. That's what I want to redefine marketing for you with this masterclass. And I know that a lot of you are very intimidated by the idea of marketing. A lot of you are afraid that it's going to pull away from your art practice too much. There's just so many things about marketing that are a turnoff. I know, I get it. But I think when you start viewing it the way that I've started to view it, that it'll look an entirely different light for you. So to start off with this video, I want to talk a little bit about my own background with marketing. You can probably guess that I've got some kind of background with it because I'm so excited by it. I've been a marketing professional for about 12 years at this point. Back in another life, I actually used to work as a marketing specialist for a speech therapy company. And that was right around the time when social media marketing was finally becoming a thing, and businesses were finally starting to understand that there was some kind of a benefit to it. So for this speech therapy company, I primarily focused on social media marketing like Facebook and Twitter, and worked to give them more visibility in that space. I'm also something of a serial entrepreneur. And I know that's kind of a weird thing for an artist, and I don't know why, but I love building businesses. My mom and dad were both super entrepreneurial, so maybe I got it in the genetics or something like that. But I love building up businesses. I own and operate two businesses right now. I own a women's jewelry business, which is actually my primary day job. I do it from home. And then obviously I'm building this art business where I instruct people and also sell my own paintings and stuff. But I have built up so many businesses in the past. And so I've had to do a lot of marketing for that, especially because in the early stages of a business, marketing is so, so important. There's like this 2-year push where I don't know, you really need to put a lot of energy into getting visibility. So I've done it a lot. I've got a lot of things to say about marketing, and I think they're going to be encouraging things too. I don't think you're going to feel overwhelmed by this masterclass. In fact, I'm going to try and put in caveats wherever I can to say, you don't have to do this right now, or this could be an advanced thing that you could do down the road. Marketing is very much something where whatever you can put in, it's going to be beneficial. And you certainly can't do all the things. Oh my goodness. I get exhausted just thinking of all the social mediums that are out there. So, anyways, that's my bona fides, my background with marketing. And the way that I'm going to structure this masterclass is in the form of questions. I'm going to be taking a number of frequently asked questions and teaching you about marketing through that. So the first question, we're going to kick it off with the biggie. What is marketing? My definition of marketing is getting attention from the right people. And something really important I want to point out there with that definition is I have said nothing about sales whatsoever. I think the scariest thing about marketing is you think you need to become like a cold calling salesman or saleswoman, and you absolutely don't have to. Marketing is getting attention from the right people. So I'll break that down. First, let's talk about the getting attention part. Anything you can do to get on people's radar is the absolute most important part of building a business. Think about how many companies spend millions and millions of dollars to get a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl. That's not primarily trying to sell their thing. That's trying to get it on people's radar that Geico is a thing. And so they make these, funny gecko commercials so that next time you're thinking about, well, maybe I need insurance, that they're the brand that comes to mind. It's not about sales, it's about getting attention from people. And that's called an awareness campaign, doing things to gain awareness for your brand. And the second part of my definition, so it's getting attention from the right people. And so not every Tom, Dick, and Harry needs to know that you're an artist. You'll find over time that you see there's a certain type of person that's really interested in your work. And that means you're figuring out what your demographic is. You're figuring out the type of person that might be interested in hearing about you, or even one day might be interested in buying a painting from you. So that's your demographic. And the reason why it's important in marketing for me to define the right people is because some of this marketing stuff I'm going to talk about, you could put money into. You absolutely don't have to. But if you are at the stage where you're starting to do ads, which I'll talk all about those later, you want to make sure that you're not just wasting money on people that aren't interested in you. You're finding out what your demographic is. So marketing is getting attention from the right people. It's not being a cold calling salesman or saleswoman. Next question. What if marketing is not my thing? I can relate to this so much because I understand how intimidating the idea of marketing can be. And I also understand that most of us artists are pretty dang introverted. And there's so much beauty in that. Introversion means that you probably have a deep inner life. And so now the thought of marketing, which is, all about outward in a lot of ways. Oh my gosh, for you introverts out there, I can understand why you would ask this question. What if marketing is not my thing? But I hope this definition of marketing and what I say about it later might express to you that for most of us, marketing is your thing. But for a second, let me address somebody for whom marketing really might not be their thing. Say you have absolutely zero interest in visibility. You don't care if people see your art. You don't care if people buy your art. You just love making art. Art is its own reward for you. First off, I'd like to applaud you and say, I wish more of us had that understanding. I think that's the most zen and true view of art there can be. The greatest reward in art, I think, is actually the making of the art. And so many of us get intimidated or beaten up with thoughts about our art. Like worrying that I wish I made more money off my art, or I wish my art was better and that more people liked it. I think when you have a healthy view of art, you do understand and realize that the greatest thing about art is just the making of it, and everything else is just secondary. So if you really don't care about people seeing your work, you just want to make art, then maybe marketing isn't your thing. But I would say that definition actually only applies to less than 1% of us. Most of us, our relationship with art is very complex. And we have all kinds of alibis and interests. We do love making art for the joy of it, but it also feels really good when people compliment our art or see it, and it feels amazing when we know that we're making a little bit of an income or our entire income off of the creation of something that brings us passion. So for those people, I would tell you marketing is your thing. We just need to figure out a way to do marketing that is true to who you are. Many of us have a distaste of marketing because of the definition we have of it in our mind. And a lot of that is centered around fear. There's something about marketing that just scares us. And so I wanted to take a minute with this question to just address the idea of fear. I read an amazing book a couple weeks ago. It's by an author named Elizabeth Gilbert, and the book is called Big Magic. It's about creatives and the creative life. And one of the big things that she talks about is the concept of fear, and specifically how easy it is, this fear instinct in us, how easy it is for this fear to dictate literally everything that we do. Fear is always around us. It's always this little voice that's telling you, you sure you want to do that? Or I don't know if that's possible. And I think she had a really helpful way of viewing fear. And honestly, go ahead and just read the book. Don't listen to anything I say. Elizabeth Gilbert's great. But what she says is, I understand that fear is my constant companion. It's always going to be there. I'm never going to get rid of all the fearful thoughts I have. And honestly, fear can be a good thing. Fear is the reason you don't, just jump off a cliff. There's this voice in your mind that's saying, "Oh, I don't know if that's a good idea." And that's a good thing. It's good for us to have fear. So we can welcome fear as our constant companion on this road trip journey that we're on. But we don't let fear drive. I love that concept. It's like you're having a conversation with your buddy Fear before you go drive across the country on this road trip. And you tell the concept of fear, you're going to be on this trip with me, and I welcome you because you're a part of me. But under no circumstances are you going to get behind the wheel. And so that speaks to this idea that as an artist, some things are going to be scary. But there's a certain courage in understanding you will have fear, but I'm still going to move forward with this thing. I'm going to be courageous and move past the fear, even though it's still there. And so I really am hopefully going to make marketing something that's not scary for you. But I just wanted to address that I do think there's a lot of fear wrapped up in this marketing thing, and we can work with that. Next question. What if I'm scared of bothering people? Or what if I just want to make artwork? I think those are both really common questions, and they're also a little bit wrapped up in that fear concept that I was just talking about. But I want to speak to these two because these are a deep part of artists' inner life, and we really have to talk about this a bit before we get into the nitty-gritty of marketing, which I'm going to after this question. So, what if I'm scared of bothering people? And what I want to say about that is the people who are following you, say we're talking about the concept of Instagram, the context of Instagram or Facebook, the people that are following you there, those people have already indicated that they want to see your work. So you don't need to be afraid of bothering the types of people that follow you. They've already expressed that they want to see your stuff. You can really think about it in terms of you're not just talking to strangers out there in the void. You're literally talking to kindred spirits at this point. You're talking to friends. These are people that already like you. So you've already won. You don't need to be afraid of winning these people's favor. The stuff that you're putting out there into the world with your Instagram posts or whatever context we're talking about, they've already indicated that they like that. And then also, I know that we're afraid of like, okay, well maybe they like my stuff, but what if I overdo it? I don't want to just blast these people with all of this stuff and then they'll just be exhausted with me. But social media is astonishingly accepting of lots and lots of content. I mean, you understand yourself. If you're like most of us, you spend a lot of time scrolling through Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. You like it, you want more stuff. And the people who follow you feel the same way about social media. They like seeing paintings, they like seeing pictures of people's workspaces or introductions to artists and stuff like that. You're not going to overdo your sharing. You can actually communicate with these people every single day if you've got the time to do it. And the social media itself is actually a really natural filter for that too, because if you're posting too much, then it's not relevant stuff, that honestly Instagram probably isn't even going to show it to anybody. So you don't need to be afraid of people seeing way too much of your stuff. Instagram's going to take care of that by if your work is relevant or not. And now I want to answer kind of the second part of that question. What if I just want to do art? And I think that's a great question to ask, because as an artist, obviously you should be creating a lot of art. The reason why you would have anything to show is because you have a deep art life where you're getting into your workspace and you're making art. So I get that you would want the vast majority of your time not to be spent on figuring out how to do marketing or writing about yourself, but actually creating the art and letting the art speak for itself. There is a lot to the art speaking for itself, but I also have to say, if you're interested in becoming something of a business, in selling your art, in being known to people or teaching people about art, whatever your relationship is with art that's going to be financial, if it is a business, sometimes you do have to do things that you don't like quite as much. I told you that I own and operate my own business, and I can't tell you how many hours are spent looking at spreadsheets. Oh my gosh. And who likes spreadsheets? Honestly. They're the most bland part of my day, but it's my business, and there's a certain work ethic to that. Of sometimes I do have to discipline myself to do certain things that I don't love as much as others. And if you do want to create some kind of an art business, then you are going to have to put yourself out there a little bit. Most of us can't sell purely on our skill and technique. There needs to be something else. There needs to be an outreach. But I'll tell you this, even if you just want to do art, even if you don't love the idea of marketing really may become something that you grow to love over time as you redefine it for yourself. Because think about it. The way I'm talking about marketing here is connecting with people. And who of us doesn't want to connect with more people? Even if we're diehard introverts, which some stages of my life, I'm very introverted. But who of us doesn't wish we had like more art buddies out there? Who of us doesn't wish that we were connected more with kindred spirits that we just related to? We could all use more community, no matter what our personality type or what our predilections are for spending our free time. We could all use more community. And that's what you're actually doing with marketing. As you connect to people, as you get people's attention and people start following you and you start communicating with people, you're literally building a community that's surrounded around your brand. And we can all use more of that. Next question, where do I do marketing? Do I do it online or do I do it in the real world? What should I be doing now that you've convinced me that I should be doing marketing? So I've given you a definition of marketing. I've hopefully convinced you that that you should be doing it, and I've also addressed some of the internal issues and struggles we have related to marketing. So now it's time to get into the nitty gritty, and we're going to be nitty gritty for pretty much the rest of this video. So, where should you be doing marketing? Generally, you should focus on online marketing. It's much better, like 1,000 times better in a lot of cases than real world marketing. And when I say better, I mean it's better in terms of cost because some of this stuff costs money. And it's also better in how it scales. It scales more. But all that being said, I will say that there's a lot of benefit in playing to your strengths. So if you are the type of person that just, it's so easy for you to go to art gallery events and schmooze with people and get known and make friends in the real world, then do it. Focus on your strengths. So I'm going to talk about some real world examples of marketing though, and I'm also going to talk about the online ones. So some examples of real world marketing is you could sign up to be a part of art shows. You could sell at art markets and local markets. You could pay for art magazine ads, or you could get in a gallery and sell art through a gallery. And you'll see that with all of these examples, there's a cost associated with them. Like art shows, you may have to spend $25, $35 just to apply. Art magazine ads could be a couple $1,000s. Getting in a gallery, there may be a cost of, having to split 50% of your sales with somebody else. So there are big costs associated to a lot of real world marketing. And in addition to that, there's a limitation to the exposure. If you sell at a local art market, there's going to be 1,500 people that go to that market. That's the exposure that you have for the expense that you made. Now, looking at some online marketing examples, I hope you'll see kind of a standout difference here. For online marketing, you could post to social media, just like you do already, posting on Instagram and Facebook. That's getting you attention, and it costs nothing. You could buy social media ads. You could start a YouTube channel or start a podcast. And what I hope you notice in these online examples is that most of them are 100% free. They have a very large exposure. You think about, paying for a social media ad, it's significantly cheaper than, buying an ad in a magazine or something like that. And you could reach 100,000 people for a very cheap cost. So, in general, online marketing has a much larger exposure and it's way, way cheaper. And these are all examples of what I'm talking about with getting attention. But there are literally endless ways to do this. Anything that gets you attention is absolutely valid. I mean, just think of all the weird viral videos that have come up and given people amazing attention. There's always some new dumb video that is taking the internet world by storm and getting millions and millions of views. And that is an absolutely valid way, and maybe the best way when it all comes to it, to get attention. I'm not saying you need to start making a dumb YouTube video, although go ahead if you're inspired by that. But there are literally infinite ways that you could get on people's radar. And us creatives actually have a really big leg up in thinking outside of the box there. We're creatives. So flex your creative muscles a little bit when you're thinking about how to get people's attention. I think once you overcome a lot of the fear associated with marketing, which obviously fear is just totally destructive for creativity, once some of that fear goes away, you may be surprised at the unique ways you can think of to get people's attention and to do it for free. Next question. When should I get started with marketing? And this is such an easy one. The answer is right now. Do it. Get started with marketing. A lot of us have this idea in our mind that we should get started with selling our art, or we should get started with putting ourselves out there after we spend a lot of concerted time getting better at art. What I would tell you is that a lot of people, most people's art careers are not built on the fact that they're the best artist out there, that they have the most amazing, overwhelming technique. Most of the people who make a living off of art do so because they've gotten exposure, they've gotten out there. And technique is not your way to exposure. In fact, a lot of times focusing on technique and saying, well, I'm just going to focus on getting better at art right now, that's your fear talking again. That's your fear saying, I don't want to come across as an imposter when I know there's all these artists out there that are so much better than me. So I'm just going to stick my head in the sand and focus on getting better at art. And then maybe someday I'll feel like I'm good enough to actually put myself out there. Do you see how much fear there is in that mindset? I'm telling you, it's just not true. You should put yourself out there, warts and all, right now. You don't need to be Van Gogh to build a following. You don't need to be Van Gogh to make $100,000 a year off of your art. You really, really don't. What you need to do is find your tribe. You need to find the demographic of people that like you, that like seeing your stuff, and they are out there. I'm telling you, you don't need to be the best artist in the world to have a following that's really passionate about you, that wants to hear how you're doing and what's on your easel right now. So, when should you get started? Get started with marketing right now. Just do it. I'm going to steal from Elizabeth Gilbert again one more time because that big magic book is just on my mind right now. There's another thing she says towards the end of the book that has blown my mind. I literally can't stop thinking about it. She says, done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. We get this idea in our heads, at least I know I do. I'm sure you guys can relate to it too, that we have to make sure that something is absolutely right and perfect and good and admirable before we put it out there into the world. And I've gained so much freedom lately from saying, no, what I need to do is put myself out there. This doesn't need to be the absolute best painting I've ever done. This doesn't need to be the most clean and easy to understand YouTube video that I've ever created. I need to keep putting stuff out there. So whatever it is, if it's how you word your Instagram post or if you're touching up your latest painting, really develop the mindset of just putting it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it out there and then you can get started on the next thing and do the same thing with it and the same thing with it. And what you'll find is no, you're not putting the absolute most perfect stuff out there, but you're getting yourself out there. And by finishing tasks over and over again, rather than working each one to death, you're actually going to get way, way better at whatever you're doing too. Next question. Where do I start with marketing? The answer for that is that you should start where you're already at. And so for most of us, the answer to that is Instagram. And the reason for that is because that's where everyone is right now at the time of this recording. And it could be totally different 5 years from now. But right now, Instagram is a really great place for artists. But my answer is where you're already at. So if Facebook works for you, if you feel comfortable with it, if you feel like you understand it better than something else, don't feel like you need to reinvent the wheel here. Just start where you're already at and where you're already comfortable. Make that your focus and don't worry about showing up at every single nook and cranny of the internet. Just start where you're most comfortable. And so you should forget about everything else and just focus on that one thing. Because when you're starting off with marketing, what you're doing with a lot of this is you're training to learn how to do marketing right. And it's a bit of a skill, just like anything else. So finding one thing, for most of us, that's Instagram, and training how to do that right. That's going to help you when you get to the point where you feel like you're comfortable stretching out your wings and showing up in other places too. Next question. How do I do social media marketing? So my focus for most of this video obviously is on Instagram. And that's because that's where everyone is right now. That's where most of you are as artists, and it just makes sense to talk about that a lot because that's kind of the dominant social medium for us artists these days. It's going to change down the road, I'm sure, but a lot of these principles will probably be the same. But so I'll be talking about Instagram for the answer to this question, but it applies to Facebook. It applies to, you know, anything else. So, how do I do social media marketing? The answer to that is that your main focus should be on engagement. That may be a new word for you guys. Engagement is how people are engaged with the latest Instagram post that you made. And engagement is Instagram's 100% main goal. The ways that you could see how people are engaging with your work is how many likes you're getting by it, um, how many shares, how many people are saving that image. Um, and then there's other metrics for engagement that Instagram probably sees that we don't, like, maybe how long they're looking at your picture or something like that. So these are all metrics of engagement, how engaged people are with your work. And the reason why that's Instagram's main goal is because Instagram is in the business of keeping people on their app and super duper interested for as long as possible. Because if they keep scrolling through, that feed looking at more stuff, that means they're viewing more ads. And that means that Instagram is making more money off of ads being viewed. So, anything that you can do to boost people's engagement with your work is going to benefit your marketing because Instagram is working for you there. You're working for Instagram there. You both have the shared goal of people staying on Instagram looking at your stuff. Real quickly, I want to talk about the anatomy of an Instagram post. Like what actually happens when you post something on Instagram. You might notice that some of your Instagram posts may get, tons and tons of likes and views, and other ones just totally bomb for some reason. Like they don't get seen by anybody. They certainly don't get seen by all of your followers. And I know that's super disconcerting and weird when it happens. You feel like, well, I have like 500 friends on Instagram, but none of them have seen my post for some reason. What does it even mean to have followers? I know, it's kind of weird. But the way an Instagram post works is if you post a drawing on Instagram, Instagram is going to show that to a very small subset of your followers. It's like a test bed, kind of. Now, if that very small group of followers doesn't engage with your post, whatever Instagram sees as engagement, what we can see as likes and stuff like that. If they don't engage with it, then Instagram just puts the brakes on your post right there. And they won't show it at all to any of your other followers. I know that sucks. And it's like totally not fair. You worked so hard to get these followers. But that's the way an Instagram post works. They send it off to a test bed of your followers and maybe people who like a certain hashtag. If those people don't find that post engaging, then Instagram's just not going to show it to anybody else. And on the other side, if people are super duper engaged with it, then they'll not only show it to all your followers, but they'll show it to people who aren't your followers, especially if you have hashtags and stuff like that. So that's a little bit of insight on why engagement is really, really important. So, when you're trying to figure out how to make your own posts more engaging, as engaging as possible, there's a couple things you can do. The number one thing is probably to look at your own posts. Look at the ones that have had the most engagement, the most likes, the most follows that have come from your post, the most saves, all that stuff. And if you don't have an Instagram business account, upgrade to that too. That'll give you these metrics. And if you don't know how to do that, just Google it. So you're going to look at your most engaging posts. And while you're doing that, try to find certain commonalities between the stuff that people seem to like the most. Do people really respond to when you paint flowers? Do people really respond when you have a studio shot? Or maybe when you talk about a personal subject, in your text copy of your post. Find the things that seem to engage people the most and then double down on those. Use that as a guideline for your future posts and start trying to channel that juju that you had when you were making something that got really engaged with. Try to make more and more stuff of that character. Another thing you can do when you're thinking about how to be more engaging with your social media is take a look at the other art accounts that you really love and think about, what do you find the most interesting about them? Is it the way the picture is set up? Is it the subject matter? Why do you follow other people? And then take those things and make it a part of how you communicate with the world. And that's totally personal and natural because you're playing off of your own interests. You're not being disingenuous or stealing somebody else's idea or doing something that isn't you, because these are the things that interest you. These are the things that feel natural to you. So use the art accounts that you like as inspiration for how you can make posts that might be more engaging. Then, to take kind of a bird's eye view of engagement for a second, let's think about what engagement really is on like a high level. When you're engaging with people, what you're doing is you're making people feel something when they look at your work. You're using your own personal voice, and people are moved by your post in some way. And there's so many different ways that people can feel something from an Instagram post. I follow some people on Instagram because they teach me cool and interesting things. I might learn new painting techniques or something. So I'm moved and engaged by their work because they've educated me. You may find that it's more natural for you to move people by inspiring them. You might offer encouragement or words of wisdom, things that might give people hope, and they're getting a feeling by that. Some artists might get engagement because they make really, really weird paintings or something. There's artists that, make their entire living off of like, gruesome dark art. Or, there's comic book artists that make people laugh. There's so many different ways to make people engaged. But the heart of the matter is, in every single way, these people are feeling something. So whatever you can do in your posts that make people feel, it's gonna be worth it. Rather than just posting the next picture, sorry, the next picture, think about how you can communicate to people that would make them feel something. And I know this is work and you just want to post on Instagram and then get to your next painting, but it may actually be worth posting less on Instagram and taking that extra 10 minutes that you would have spent posting tomorrow and take a little bit more time to think about, like, how can I move people with this? How can I create something, write something, take a picture of something that might strike more of a chord with people rather than just throwing something out there without thinking about it. Another important aspect to social media marketing is hashtags. And hashtags are a way for you to reach out to people who aren't already your followers. So, for example, if you're an oil painter, you might use the hashtag oil painting. And people who do searches for the hashtag oil painting, your work might show up. And the key for hashtags is you want to go for ones that don't have a ton of competition. I know the most natural and simple thing to do would be to put in hashtag art or something every time you make a post. But think about it. How many people are putting the hashtag art on their stuff? If you look at hashtag art, there's probably 300 million Instagram posts there. And so you're competing against 300 million people for your thing to get viewed. It's not going to get viewed unless you're like Kim Kardashian or something. It's a worthless hashtag. So instead of just doing like hashtag art, what you want to do is find hashtags that don't have a lot of competition. And this takes a little bit of research, but the key is narrow down your niche as much as you can and then find hashtags that, only have like a couple thousand posts instead of millions. Another important aspect to building your social media following is engaging with others. And honestly, this may be the most important one. Think about it. People absolutely love talking about themselves. For the most part, people don't want to talk about you, they want to talk about them. So, with social media marketing and with any marketing in general, the more you can make other people the hero, listen to them, think about their dreams, encourage them, the more you're going to win. People want to talk about themselves. They're their favorite subject. That's just part of being human. So spend time when you're thinking about expanding your reach with social media by finding new people, by looking at other people's stuff and commenting on their posts and liking their stuff and following them if you want to follow them. Engage with others, and that can be one of the best ways to increase your own following and make people willing to spend the time of day to look at your stuff. They now have an emotional connection with you because you like them just like they like them. And one other thing about this engaging with others is, for the most part, you want to work on your own level when you do this. Here's what I mean by that. Say you have 400 Instagram followers. When you're engaging with other people, you primarily want to talk to people who have, 600 to 300 Instagram followers. Maybe don't engage with people who have 20,000 Instagram followers until you're closer to that level. You want to focus your communication on people who are like you, who are at your spot. And you're going to grow. And over time, you'll communicate with people who have a larger following. But that's a way to make engaging with others a little bit more effective. And the last thing I want to mention here is the idea of follow for follow. It's a pretty common technique on the social media world that a lot of accounts will follow a whole bunch of other people in the hopes that they'll get a few follows back. And then a week later or so, they'll unfollow all of those accounts. So they're left with a bunch of new followers, but they're not following those people anymore. And I would caution you to not practice that technique. I know that it's probably effective and a great way to get a lot more followers, but it's disingenuous and dishonest in my mind. You always want to put forward your true self in your business practice. And there's just kind of something yucky about that. Maybe there's a chance that most of those people will never know or never notice, but I find that if you enact your business practices honestly, be your true self, don't don't lie or deceive, just be your natural self, things will always go better for you in the end. Next question. Should I run ads or should I just grow my account naturally? There's this kind of unspoken idea in the art community that it's better if your growth is organic and natural. It's more legitimate or something like that. But Absolutely anything that brings you more attention should be embraced 100% fully without any restraint. So, my answer to that is if you want to run ads, you absolutely should. And honestly, even if you hadn't thought about it until now, ads are a great way to build a following more quickly than through natural, organic means. Now, they're both totally legitimate, they're totally great. And I'm not talking about buying followers. I think that's a totally different thing. And I would definitely not buy Instagram followers or something like that. At the main reason being, if Instagram finds out, you could lose your entire account. But also, those aren't your people. That's not the demographic that's really going to connect with you. You want to pursue people that are really interested in your work. So, yes, I do think you should run ads. I run ads myself. They've benefited my art business greatly, and I'm just going to run more as time goes on. Natural organic growth is great, but running ads is great too. Next question. How do I run ads? So, for those of you who are interested in giving ads a try, I'll talk about it a little bit here. This is a somewhat more advanced topic, so I'll definitely be making a video just about running ads, but I will mention it a little bit here for those who are interested. Running ads is a faster way to build a following than your organic, natural means. Obviously, there's a price associated with it, but there is real benefit to getting more visibility by spending a little bit of money where it makes sense. Now, as I talk about ads here, I'm going to focus just on the context of pure attention, not in sales. So, this would be what you would call an awareness campaign. You can also run ads to drive traffic to your website. You can drive traffic for email signups, or you can, try to sell actual products through ads. But for this, I'm just going to focus on getting attention. So you do need to put a price tag on what building a following is worth for you. This is a little bit hard to measure, but there is a value in just purely building a brand. You might be attracting followers who 2 years from now would be interested in buying a painting from you. And it's a little bit difficult to measure the effectiveness of that, but there's always value in attention. So when you're ready to run an ad, what you do is to start off, you find your most engaging post. Just like I was talking about earlier, when you look through your most engaging posts to figure out how you can maximize engagement. Now you're going to find the thing that engaged people the most, and that post is what you're going to run an ad on. And the goal here for running this ad is engagement. So the way you're going to track if this post is working or not is by the likes, the follows that you get from the ad. So as you're putting together this ad, think about the demographic that seems to like you the most. Look in your Instagram business profile, and you might see that you tend to get more of a response from women rather than men. So maybe with this ad, you might want to start off by just targeting females. And then say this post is like a pastel painting or something. Well, then maybe you'll want to focus on people who have expressed interest in pastel paintings. You push this ad out into the world, you wait a week or so to see how it does, and then the real magic happens after that. After you get the results of this ad, then you tweak that same ad to get better engagement. Oftentimes, an ad may not perform well the very first time you try it, but it'll perform better and better over time as you limit the specific demographic that you're trying to reach out to. So maybe next time you run this ad, you might focus just on people who are aged 40 to 65 because those are the people who seemed to respond the best. Or maybe you'll just send out that ad between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. because those were the times for the most engagement. Now your ad is going to be significantly cheaper, get better engagement, and just perform better over time. So it's definitely a work in progress. I would caution you, don't give up too quickly on ads. If it doesn't seem to be working right away, or if it seems to be too expensive, It may be because you just need to tweak the ad to make it a little bit more engaging. Next question. How do I make the most out of my marketing time? So, our marketing time is definitely a budget in our day. We're artists and we want to spend a lot of our time creating art. So, it can help to get efficient with how we do our marketing. And so, the main way that we can make the most out of our marketing time is by taking a piece of content and repurposing it wherever it makes sense. So, for example, um, if you've created an Instagram post, you've spent a little bit of time thinking about, how to make it a little bit more engaging, how to make people feel something from it. Well, then you can take that Instagram post and post it on Facebook too. And that might be sound really, really obvious, and maybe you're already doing that. But that gets to the principle that I'm kind of driving at here is making good content takes time, but content can be repurposed. And what you're doing when you're repurposing your content and you're posting it elsewhere is you're putting it before more eyes. So you've done work on one thing, but now you can put it out there in front of 3 or 4 things. And you've gotten a lot of bang for your buck with the time you've spent crafting that post or whatever it is. Another example of ways that you could make the most out of content is say say you have a YouTube channel and you're talking about artwork. Well, why the heck wouldn't you take that YouTube video and then put the audio of it and post it as a podcast? You're reaching out to an entirely different audience with the same piece of work. In addition to that, you could take this YouTube video that you've created and cut clips out of it. And you could use little 25-second clips as an Instagram post. Or you could post that clip to Facebook as a GIF. You could put a bit of that on IGTV, which is like Instagram's, television video format. The point I'm getting at here is that when you're making a post for something, that may not be the only place where it can reach. And there's a certain skill in learning to take a single piece of content that you've put some good time into and then stretching it wherever it makes sense. Now I say wherever it makes sense because, obviously it needs to make sense where it goes. If you post something that isn't exactly relevant on that medium, then it's just not going to get engagement. So, it just won't reach that audience. But wherever it's possible, you should take this hard work that you've put into, writing about your art or making a video about something or taking some pretty pictures. Use that hard work and get as much reach as possible as you can out of it. Next question. When do I have permission to ask for a sale? So when we're marketing, we are avoiding the whole annoying salesperson aspect of it. And that's one of the reasons why we can do this in good conscience and without being afraid. As we're doing marketing, we're just getting awareness. We're just putting ourselves out there for people. And a lot of the sales is just going to be taken care of because of that. People are going to come to you and ask for commissions or if they can buy work just because you're putting yourself out there. But there does come a time when you can and should specifically tell people what you have to offer. And the time for that is after you've given all of your best stuff. Here's what I mean by that. Let's look at my art business as an example. I have a Patreon account where people support me financially as an artist, and in return they get art instruction videos from me. But I haven't started my business just by asking people to, join my art lessons and learn about art. I've done a lot of work in the background to help people understand who I am. A lot of that comes from posting on Instagram. I try not to be salesy too often on Instagram. I try to just put myself out there. I also make a ton of free YouTube videos, so people get a taste of my teaching style. They understand who I am, how I communicate, if they could learn something from me. And that's an inroad into them being a part of my Patreon account where they get much more teaching from me, much more organized and better, hands on, real time teaching. So I've spent a lot of time and effort trying to give my absolute best stuff so that people understand who I am, they know and they trust me. And that's the case with you. Even if you're just selling your artwork, there's still a give that you can be involved with. You can you can not be salesy on Instagram, but you can be personal. You can give people encouragement. You can give people interest and a good time. You can share beautiful art with them. And what that does is that builds a relationship with these people, that builds engagement and trust. And then when it comes, Christmas time or when you've finished a big collection that you're ready to sell or something like that, you've got people that already know who you are, already like you and want more from you. And they're going to be way more receptive to your offer than if, every single Instagram post you do is just bombarding them with a sale. Or if you only post on Instagram once every 6 months when you have something to sell from people. Focus on relationship, on generosity, and people will be receptive and excited when you do make a special offer. When you run a sale on your website for people to go buy original paintings at a discount or whatever it is, you can and should ask for that sale after you've given away your best stuff. Next question. How do I sell my art? This is kind of an advanced topic, and I definitely need entire videos for this question and the one that's following. But I want to touch on them because, they are kind of the end goal of a lot of our marketing. So, how do I sell my art? When you're ready to sell your art, you want to build a website. And the reason for that is because a website is going to be your home base. It's going to be what represents your brand, and it's also going to be something that never goes away. So you're getting a little bit of stability for your business. That way, when one day Instagram goes the way of MySpace and it just dies, you haven't lost your entire following of people. You haven't lost your only place on the internet. So, building a website, I think, is very, very critical for when you are ready to sell. Now, it's not the only way. You can sell just straight through Instagram. I think Instagram has its own market setup now that you can do. You can look online for the details on that. And a lot of artists sell just through DMs, so they'll send a PayPal link that people can go to buy something. But I would recommend when you're ready to sell, take a little bit of time and build an art website. I'll create another video for this down the road to help out with that because I know that's another thing that's pretty daunting is thinking about building a website. But there's a lot of tools out there now that make it super quick and easy. You can build a whole website in a day if you're, inspired and on a tear. So down the road, I'll make a new video about how to create a website. But when you are ready to sell your art, I would suggest doing that. Next question. Should I do email marketing? Again, this is another kind of advanced topic, and it's certainly one that I'm going to do a whole video on. So if you don't feel like you're here yet, then disregard this. You don't need to worry about this right now. But if you are ready to build up your marketing a little more, I do think that email marketing is quite important. So my answer is yes, you should do email marketing. If your website is like your home base, like I said on the last question, then your email list is the command center or something like that. It's a really important core for the same reason that having a website is, because one day Instagram is probably going to go away. Maybe one day Google might stop showing your website for some reason or something like that. So this is a way to stay a little bit evergreen, to be able to weather the storms of the internet world changing. If you have a core list of people who have expressed willingness for you to email them, then that's something that's just yours, and it's not something that Facebook can take away one day or something like that. So, short answer, yes, you should do email marketing. And the way you do it is the exact same that you do any other kind of marketing. Be generous, be yourself, put your natural personality out there. And, that's the most important thing. I do think it is possible to over email people, but most of us are never going to do it. People are generally pretty accepting of getting an email every 2 weeks, and most of us are not going to write that many. Most of us have the opposite problem of not sending enough emails. And so, if you are willing to do email marketing, I would suggest you at least send something every 6 months. If you don't, then your mail list is what's called a dead mailing list, and people may actually, not remember that they're a part of your list. So, send something every 6 months, even if it's just, hey, here's an update on me, or here's some paintings I've done recently. They don't need to be salesy. They can just be engaging with people. But yeah, if you're ready to do email marketing, I would definitely suggest you do it. Thank you so much for watching this video with me. That's the end of the questions, but I did want to take a moment to kind of bring all of this together. So, all that marketing is getting attention from the right people as an artist. Marketing doesn't need to be salesy, it doesn't need to be, in people's face. You can just be yourself, put yourself out there in front of the right people, and the rest is going to take care of itself. If you do the marketing right, you're going to build an audience, and sales are just going to happen. It's going to be much easier than if you approach it from a mindset where you're constantly pursuing the sales. Just focus on getting the attention, and a lot of the other stuff is going to take care of itself. And if all this business of marketing that I've been talking about sounds just so personal and social to you, then I've gotten my point across. We live in a very personal and social world these days. And that's going to be the future of business in every respect. And the great thing is, every single one of us is unique and has our own personal perspective and taste to put out there. That's the point of it all. Not too many people can sell their art just purely based on their absolutely amazing technique, but absolutely everyone can sell as a person who makes artwork. People are connected to people, and your unique personality is something that people will want to connect with. You have people out there that you haven't met that are kindred spirits, want to know you, want to see your art, and a lot of them are going to want to buy your art too, no matter what level you are as an artist. Over time, I think it's helpful, more than thinking of yourself as a business, to almost think of yourself as a media company in a way. Maybe that's not the best way to express it because media company sounds really impersonal. But a lot of your business as an artist is just being out there in the world, putting out content, putting out yourself, just getting known. And the rest of it is going to take care of itself. You don't have to be a salesman or a saleswoman, but I think you do have to be yourself. So be bold, be courageous. Just like Elizabeth Gilbert talks about how we're not going to let fear drive, even though fear is going to be on the road with us every step of the way. Go out there and be courageous. Push past that fear and put yourself out there into the world. So many people are waiting to know you and connect with you. Happy art making, everyone.